Helix Resources is a highly active minerals exploration company focused on making discoveries at its copper projects located in the COBAR region of central New South Wales. We're joined by Helix Resources Managing Director, Mike Rosenstrike. Welcome along, Mike.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Helix Resources is focused on finding large-scale, high-grade copper deposits in the COBAR area. It's not a story of diversity, that is our core project focus. I started just over a year ago, and the new team that I've put together, we are all in on finding copper in COBAR, and hopefully through this presentation you'll get a sense as to what's driving that enthusiasm. I'd like to think it's a unique opportunity for investors to have exposure to copper discovery success on the ASX, given our sole focus on COBAR copper. COBAR has a long mining history, high-grade copper, gold and base metal deposits. We've got a very strategic land position there, over 2,000 square kilometres, and at the centrepiece of our project profile are two mineral resources, Cambalago and CZ. We've had recent success drilling, particularly at Cambalago, and I'd like to talk about that a little bit more. But importantly, we have an emerging project profile from systematic regional scale exploration work. We've got a very experienced team who have joined the company recently, supported by an experienced board. And there's a wonderful copper price outlook. Last week, copper breached $10,000 a tonne. So this is the COBAR region. It's elephant country. As you can see, the likes of Aeris Resources on their Triton operations have been operating there for around 30 years. On the other side of the region is Glencore's CSA mine. 50,000 tonnes of copper contained in concentrates. They've been churning that out for about the last 20 years, and that's that mine's third phase of production. And then you've got a range of other producers, Aurelia at their Peak and Hera mines, and emerging projects such as Peel Resources and potentially Helix as well. So this is a map now focusing in on our two tenement blocks. We have the eastern and western block, and on those tenements we've identified three mineralised trends. The Rochford trend in the middle there, number one, the COLLERINA trend to the east, and in the earlier stage Miriola trend on the other side. Now, just as an aside, those colours there represent a airborne VTEM survey that we flew early last year, and it demonstrates our commitment to doing regional scale exploration to generate the pipeline of opportunities to advance through to resource definition work. Last year was very much about gathering data and getting ourselves set up, understanding the opportunities. This year is about picking up the pace, and we're very much focused on increasing that copper inventory and being on a development pathway. So let's have a look at the Rochford trend, where we've had some recent news come out. What are we looking for along this trend? We're looking for large-scale, high-grade copper deposits such as the COBAR style of deposit. These generally have very small footprints, but extend vertically down for hundreds, sometimes thousands of metres. They tend to be high-grade, and they tend to occur in parallel lodes. And I've got an example there from the Glencore CSA mine where you can see all of those attributes, particularly the parallel lodes and that tremendous vertical extent. And this is a wonderful discovery to potentially make. The high grade, it's one of the highest copper grades, copper mines in the world, highest grade copper mines in the world. So if we have a look at the prospects along that Rochford trend, we have the advanced Cambalago project in the middle there. It's got a resource, 1.5 million tonnes at 1.2% copper, and I'll show a little bit more about that shortly. But up and down along that 30-odd kilometre trend, we have a variety of regional prospects which are emerging as well. And then we have that earlier stage Miriola trend to the left. So having a look at the Cambalago main zone now, this is a long section through it, and we have here a grade metre plot, copper times metre percents. And what it shows is the resource shell in that light pink shading, about 400 metres north-south, about 200 metres vertically. And then our last year's drill intercepts have been highlighted beneath that, which includes 18 metres at 3.4% copper, 100 metres beneath the bottom of the resource shell. And then in January, we announced that hole 6 also intercepted some massive copper sulfide mineralisation, extending that mineralised zone down another 60-odd metres. So we seem to have this overall copper lode within which we're defining a higher grade shoot. It's open to the north, it's open at depth, and we are drilling here right now. We make a lot of announcements about visual copper results. The reason is because copper sulfides, for example, brassy yellow, are quite distinctive visually, and obviously it's material to report those things. And that's what it looks like. That's actually from our recent RC drilling. So this is a plan view, and on the right-hand side is a plan projection of that main lode mineral resource, the main Cambalago lode. And what you can see there on the left of it is in red where we've intercepted significant zones of copper sulfide mineralisation. So the COBAR model is starting to stand out as we define parallel lodes to the west. Likely 2 lodes at this stage, open-ended to the north and each defined by several RC holes over at least 100 metre strike extent. And as I said, we have diamond drilling ongoing in this area right now. If we take a step backwards and zoom out along that Rochford trend, in the middle of this map you can see the shaded area is the joint venture that we have with Eris. It's a 70-30 JV. We manage it. We have 70, and we have a terrific collaborative relationship working with Eris on this. And in the middle there you have that greater Cambalago project area that I've just shown you the map of. But to the south we have the Caballero prospect. Hasn't been drilled since 2013 when 2 scout holes hit significantly anomalous copper. Intercepts of 33 metres at over 2,000 ppm. These are not, that's what scout drilling does. It's looking for anomalies or confirming anomalies, and they were hit, but they were never followed up. And then when we've come along early last year and flown the VTEM, it lights up underneath these anomalies and is really important in helping us rank and prioritise these regional prospects. Similar situation to the south at the Bijou prospect on 100% Helix ground. Very strong surface geochemistry, strong VTEM response. Again, 2 scout holes, highly anomalous, not followed up. And then to the north, the Boppy Broken Hill, no drilling, but again, strong geochem, strong VTEM. So you can see there's a lot to get on with here in terms of looking up and down that Rochford trend for more copper deposits. That's what the massive copper sulfide looked like in hole 6 that I referred to earlier, and that is why we are going to spend the majority of our exploration dollars in this area over the next 3 to 6 months, doing a range of drilling and looking at those prospects that I described. Now let's move to the eastern tenement block along the Collerina trend. What are we targeting here? We're looking for what we refer to as Triton-style deposits. These have a slightly different geological setting to the COBAR style of deposits mentioned earlier. They also have a small footprint, but a very extensive ribbon-like geometry down plunge, as you can see from the 2 long sections I'm presenting there from Eris's Constellation and Triton ore bodies. On the very right-hand side, I've got a long section from our CZ resource, and you can see the similarities in the geometries and also some very good copper grades down that plunge. And it's worth reflecting that Eris's Triton operations have been there for 30 years, making about 20,000 tonnes of copper every year. So these are very significant mineral deposits or mineral camps. So this is that eastern tenement. You can see that recently with those yellow shaded areas, we've increased our land holding there to make sure that we capture opportunities identified from the regional VTEM near boundaries. In the central southern part of it there, we have our CZ deposit. That's 2 million tonnes at 2% copper and a little bit of gold. And we also have recently acquired the Homeville nickel cobalt resource. We did this with an opportunity to rationalise various royalty and joint venture interests, and we picked up this deposit along the way. It's a high-grade nickel cobalt laterite project. As well, up and down that Collerina trend, we have a variety of emerging regional prospects, and you'll note to the north, that's the Tritton or Eris's Tritton operational hub, right along the northern strike extent of this Collerina trend. Having a look at the CZ deposit, in plan view, we have a zone that plunges from the left to the right down to the southeast, and you can see over 1,200 metres, and you can see with some of those assays that I've listed on the right-hand side there, it's a genuine high-grade copper sulphide deposit. 14 metres at 4% copper, 12 metres at 5, 4 metres at 5% copper. It's a really significant mineralised zone. In our recent drilling, late last year, we've also identified new, shallow, high-grade oxide zones, particularly to the southeast there, where we've got 7 metres at 2.6% copper and 7 metres at 2.8, and remains open to the southeast. So there's a lot of work to get on with here. At Collerina, most of our work will focus on generating and advancing more of our regional prospects, as well as reassessing and doing metallurgical work on the CZ deposit itself. I mentioned the Homeville nickel cobalt deposit. We're really looking for external funding or an investment partner for that, but there's a fair bit of attractive opportunity there given that we have other regional, very high tenor nickel cobalt intercepts that could be incorporated into quite a significant nickel cobalt project, but that'll be a sort of a side project. So in terms of our pipeline and our work, I'd have to be candid and say that I think all of our team is a little bit dissatisfied at the pace of work we were able to achieve last year. We're picking up that momentum, and I think now, given that we've made 2 significant announcements this year already, with this workflow, which focuses on both our advanced opportunities and our regional prospects, we expect a very solid, busy field season, much greater momentum, and lots of news flow coming out of that. So Helix, it's been listed for a long time. Our current share price is around 1.6 to 1.8 cents. It gives us a market capitalisation of only $20-odd million. We've got a reasonable amount of cash left. One of the things that we like to do, part of our strategy, is to stay well funded. It enables us to do systematic, methodical work to well-based technically. Last year, we built up the team. We've got Gordon Barnes joins us as exploration manager and Megan Hamblin as CFO. So we're all new to the company, supported by a very experienced board. In terms of the share register, it's wide open. The top 20 hold less than 30%, and our major shareholder is Yandal Investments. And I think that share price graph there shows the excitement when you hit massive copper sulfides, but if you don't keep up the pace of that exploration, I guess interest wanes and your share price wanes, and therein lies the opportunity for investors. And the opportunity is to back a group that is all in on finding high-grade copper in COBAR. All their pieces are there. Great neighbourhood, advanced projects to get on with, a developing pipeline of regional projects in an area that's been underexplored, a focused and skilled exploration team, all underpinned by this wonderful positive outlook for the copper price. Thank you very much.